Hey everybody, it's Jon and Phil from Stone Creek Blues.
Guitar player, lead vocalist, bass player. We want to thank you so much for your support. The page blew up. The stuff we put out blew up much more than we ever anticipated.
Yeah, we our last one of our gigs about 2 years ago. We released a version of "If You Be My Baby." I think it got 1,500 views. And so we were mixing up the stuff from last. We played a gig in November, the day before Thanksgiving,
at Muddy Run Tavern in downtown Huntington,
and it was a good gig, good energy. And so I was mixing up that version of "If You Be My Baby," and
which was our sound check.
Sound check. I almost didn't release it because we already had a version, and decided to put it out because it was a nice cut. And I go on vacation, I come back from my cruise, and it's got almost 300,000 views right now, which that's for some people that's not a lot, but for us, a lot of our stuff, 1,500, 2,000-3,000 views. I mean, that's, to us, that's crazy.
Yeah, a laid back, easy blues tune.
And for some reason it caught on, and we just wanted to say thanks for that. We're almost at 3,000 subscribers now, basically on the back of that tune alone. And so we've been trying to, we've been talking about the future, what we're going to do, and
most of what's on the channel right now is from that show in November that we played. We had some older versions of those songs. We've had some lineup changes along the last couple of years, and so we took some of those down when we got the more recent ones from the show, just because it sounded better, good recordings, and represents kind of more where we are today.
For those of you that noticed that we haven't been putting out only blues, we've kind of made for the local relevance factor, we've kind of thrown in some classic rock and some bluesy country to augment our set. So we're going to be releasing stuff like that as well. We're not turning our back on any blues. We're adding to what we feel is our base.
Yeah, well, I mean, we kind of see ourselves as like this Americana gumbo mix, right? That we've both played in other bands. Actually, when I met Jon, he was playing in like a country rock, kind of bro country project that sounded really good at the time. And I was playing in 3/4 blues, which was probably more like 1/32 blues, not really 3/4. But
so the original project was Burnt Cabins. Got to throw a shout out.
Yeah, Burnt Cabins band was the absolutely.
All my friends from high school, we had a really good time. We played a lot of really good Texas Red Dirt stuff.
Yep.
I lived in Wyoming for a while, and I got a lot of that music in my under my skin. And so when I came back home from Wyoming, we started playing that stuff like 06, 08, 09 in there, and had a good response. Everybody started to get married and have kids, so it kind of dwindled.
Yeah, that was shortly after I moved to the area in 04. We're in central Pennsylvania here. You can see the beautiful day we've got here today. But yeah, so I moved here in 04, caught Jon playing with Burnt Cabins band, was really kind of impressed and blown away. I started playing with some people that I had met, doing a lot of classic rock covers in 3/4 blues. And then at some point, I wound up playing bass in Burnt Cabins band. Yeah. The bass player left, and you wound up playing guitar in 3/4 blues, carrying a little more lead stuff. And then like that 15 years ago, and we started, for years we talked about an original project that would be rooted in the blues, right?
So I'd say basically I went through a period of time, a lot of guitar players will go through this. I had a really good mentor, guitar guy in State College, Andy Tollins. Anybody who lives in this area knows Andy Tollins. And he asked me the hardest question anybody's ever asked me, which was, I was going there for lessons, and he'd give me stuff to learn. I'd learn it, and then one day he just looked at me and said, "Man, you got to figure out what you want to sound like." And it kind of flipped me out, because I knew that was not a question anybody else could answer for me. So it spent, I ended up just really doing a lot of listening for like 2 years, almost no playing, no band, just listening to music, trying to figure out what I want to sound like. And so it's kind of tied into the current project. I really settled in on Peter Green, and Peter Green's playing with John Mayall and his stuff with early Fleetwood Mac. I just think, you know, coming from the B.B. King, Otis Rush kind of school, I kind of gravitated more towards him than Eric Clapton, who I also really like. But you know, what ended up happening is we have a period of time, then we get into COVID where we really can't do much, and it was a lot of listening and study, and then, you know, I guess we're gonna
and studio creation.
Well, that's
I mean,
the thing.
right?
We built.
Yeah, that was a how many years?
So it's probably been 6 or 8 years that we took us to build it. But what really happened was,
I mean, we were playing with other people in other places at the time, but
we decided we need a place to play, and so it was kind of off and on. You know, do a little this, do a little that, and then finally, we kind of were getting it close to getting over the hump. We were putting in drywall and stuff, and then and COVID hit, and everybody was kind of, you know, dispersed, and then
we finished it what, two Februarys ago?
So 2 Decembers ago. It had been dragging on for years, and I have pictures. I'm going to do a video of this at the end. I'm going to show a bunch of pictures from the build, but you know, after so it got to be about September, October of 2 years ago, and I basically told myself I wasn't allowed to do anything until I finished it. And so we got to like December. I think we painted, and I called Phil and I was like, "Hey man, let's pick some songs." And so we sat in my basement and spun records and listened to music for a couple nights. And we picked like 50 tunes.
Yep.
And a lot of Peter Green, a lot of, you know, Muddy Waters, a lot of the stuff that, you know, a lot of B.B. King. And then we just started getting together and playing, and really working on the language, you know, like really working on the bass lines, working on the different types of stuff that, you know, the actual language.
The sound, the feel.
Yeah. The gear. I mean, I did a complete deep dive on Peter Green's setup, his pickups, his guitars, his amps. I mean, just way more information than I ever thought. I have all my stuff set up. You know, it was definitely the hunt, the tone hunt. I was chasing it. You know, Phil's been chasing it. He got the P bass. You know, kind of landed on that as your main instrument. That's the journey. That's the cool part of it, right? It's the trying to emulate what you hear, and in the process of doing that, you kind of figure out what you're supposed to sound like to tie it back into that. And so we ended up getting together, and then we thought, well, let's add some musicians to this, right? So we start, and here's the thing about Central PA: it's beautiful and looks like this, but it's very spread out, and it's very, it's rural, and it's hard to find people that play. Especially, it's hard to find people playing certain types of music, right? So, we basically have talked for years about having a community of musicians, and I think it took us. I mean, we're still just getting to that point where it's kind of coalescing, but there's a pretty nice scene. You know, a group of musicians up by Penn State. We have some down here, but you know, we've been basically gathering people that like to play, that can play, and trying to get them in our orbit. And so, you know,
and the recordings you hear are the product of that.
Yeah,
right?
we kind of got, you know, we get our. There's been a few different members of the Stone Creek Blues Band, so, but that's just based on, you know, timing, sometimes availability, sometimes it's some guy. You know, we're all regular dudes, family type people that have kids and jobs, and so we kind of have to set it up in a way that, you know, there's a kind of a core group of people, and then there's a bunch of people that we can have play with us, based on the gig, based on what we're playing, where we're playing, and that's really the community aspect of it, right? So trying to build this group of people that can really play good music, which I think we all think that, you know, the world kind of needs good music, you know what I mean?
Definitely. I need good music.
How about it? So that's kind of how we got the band going, and honestly, we talked about this in the beginning about we want to just kind of have like 3 phases, you know. And all the bands that I looked at back in the day that I liked, they started, like, if you look at like the British stuff, 65, it's all blues covers, and then, you know, 67, 68 now it's Cream and it's Fleetwood Mac, and all of a sudden you have this blues rock explosion, and then all of a sudden by 70, 72, I mean, there's all this original music, you know, and it's amazing how it progressed in a 5 to 7 year period from blues to classic rock, you know. And so we've talked about this project as kind of having that arc,
right? You
know, start as a blues band and learn the language, really learn it, and have it be part of what we do, and then we start adding some of the other stuff like we talked about, some of the more twangy elements or some of the more, you know, just different types of music that are popular, things that we like as well. And then the final phase, which is kind of what we're getting into now, is to try to just actually try to record a bunch of original material. You know, I think we're getting to the point now where we're starting to get we're starting to catch a little bit of a stride, and maybe we can actually get some songs out there that might actually be, you know, people might enjoy them. I mean, we would enjoy them. So if we can bring, you know, Phil likes to say, don't worry about, you know, being perfect, just be prolific, get music out there. And so we've been trying really hard to get the studio set back up to record, because we've been kind of focused on gigs for the last maybe year, you know. And I think it's time for us to take the next step and try to figure out what are we supposed to sound like? What do we sound like? If it's what do we?
Well, and then just like the different kind of things that we want to do, right? So the Stone Creek Blues project has been kind of our main thing of late,
right.
and that really is kind of this Americana gumbo, right? I mean, it's all the things that essentially blues grew into, right? So you got the Chicago blues as a heavy influence for us. But then also, you know, the country and the Southern rock that came out of that.
Red Dirt.
Right. And so that's going to continue to be a thing. But we've also done some other stuff. Like a friend of mine, Neil Utterback at Juniata College, he wrote a play and he asked us to do a score, to do a soundtrack for it. And
we said yes, and we had never done anything.
We'd never done anything like that, right? And it was awesome.
Yeah, it was great.
So we basically what we did is we watched. You know, I said, you know, of course I can read the script, and I did, but I was like, we need to know what you're doing, and so we recorded sections of the rehearsals. I went in and you know, he told me where he wanted music ideally, and then I recorded those sections, and then John and I would listen to them, and we'd watch them. We'd watch them. Yeah, no, exactly. We'd watch them, and then I guess listen, right? We're also listening, like what's the feel here, right? Yeah. Like what should go under the scene? And so we recorded some really fun originals that were different than anything we did. Like the play is called West of Jesus, and it's a surf story, right? And so there's like the sound of crashing waves, and then there's this kind of like funky, hypnotic, rhythmic stuff.
Some like chordal textures and stuff like that. Some of it's very background textural.
Yep,
some of it could be song based, but like it was a really fun thing to do because it's something we had never done, and it was basically just making music.
And then we're trying to figure out like, well, where do we put that out there, right? Like, because it's not like what we've been doing with Stone Creek Blues. It doesn't make sense to start a whole nother like YouTube channel for that. And then more recently, right, we started playing with another drummer and a couple other players doing really a kind of a mix of funk, jazz,
some lo-fi.
Yep, some lo-fi, chill wave, and then we've got a sax player now involved with it, and so.
So the current thought is, we used to have Woodshed Productions was an organization I formed when we used to put on some concerts back in 06, 09, somewhere in that area. And so we were talking about basically what's going to happen. We're going to update the page to be a Woodshed Productions page, which is basically just going to be our community musicians, local, our band, any of our side projects, whatever.
Yep.
We figured, you know what, we have music laying around that people might want to listen to. We're going to basically have our page be Woodshed Productions. This is our community, and we're going to put band music on there that's our band, affiliate projects, anything that's related to us or if we're in it.
Yep.
So that we have a place to put that music. And so you may, if you came, if you came to our page to listen to the blues, and if you don't want to hear one of our other tunes, that's cool. Hopefully we'll be throwing some
blues. You'll continue to get right. You're still going to get
there.
Stuff from Stone Creek Blues.
Yeah, but you might get an acoustic song from just me and an acoustic.
Yep.
You might get a lo-fi tune with us and a drummer and a sax player.
Yep.
But we just think that we, to have a place just to put good music.
Basically, an outlet for us to kind of put the different things we're working on, put it out there into the world, and share it.
Right. And so we hope that. We hope that that'll be a good outlet for the tunes, because there's a lot of songs to be written, and a lot of us have ideas to record, and I think it's more or less just now it's about just doing the work, sitting down and recording the material and trying to, and we're mixing on Logic. I mean, I have Logic. We're down here. I mean, the Beatles had
Logic.
The Beatles had less recording power than we have on our phone, right? Yeah. So with Logic and a decent interface, I mean, it comes down to talent and your ability to create. So now it's time to see what we can add to the link. What's our link in the chain to these types of music, You know, so more or less, we just wanted to introduce ourselves, say hi.
Tell you about the change, tell you what's coming.
Say thank you.
So it's been a good time, and you're gonna hear lots of good stuff coming out from us in the future.
Yep, we're gonna go inside the studio here, just take a look, and talk about a few more things real quickly there. But you know, hopefully you guys all stick around, and you know, if you're in the middle of Pennsylvania, come out and try to find a gig. We'll be playing. You know, we played in State College, we played in Huntington, we played. There's various areas around here that we want to play, but I think for now we're going to focus on recording and try to get some stuff out there. Maybe get some stuff on streaming platforms, and you know, try to get more music out. So, hey,
cheers!
Thanks for everybody for listening, and
to good music.
Stay tuned.